Hey everyone, I'm Brazen Eagle, and I hope you're all having a great day. So, as the title of this video states, it's in my belief that women as a group, they shouldn't be able to vote. To some of you, that is an absolutely terrible, appalling statement. But before you call me misogynist, downvote this video, or anything like that, I'm going to explain my position. Alright, so hear me out. Women as a group, they vote for big government and welfare. Women receive twice as much federal assistance and welfare benefits as men do. They also are literally financially rewarded for supporting welfare states. Women vote for congressmen and congresswomen to vote themselves other people's money. To add to this, the average woman will cost the government about $150,000 over her lifetime. That includes supposedly paying taxes to the government. They pay a small amount of tax, but get a massive amount of benefits for that. That's absolutely insane. With this information, we can logically conclude that women, of course, are just a net drain on the government. They don't contribute to the overall tax system. Why should you vote if you don't contribute to the system? That makes no sense to me. If we continue to let women vote, we will continue to dig ourselves a deeper debt hole that we hopefully can pay off someday, but at this point, I don't know if we can. And for my second point, voting is a privilege. Agree or disagree? As defined by the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, a privilege is so-called a right or immunity granted as a peculiar benefit, advantage, or favor. Men, they must earn the privilege of voting. Men are only allowed to vote if they sign up for the selective service. If men do not sign up for the service, they cannot apply for 1. Federal student aid, 2. Federal job training, and of course number 3, a federal job. A man could also face a fine of up to $250,000 and or face up to 5 years in jail just for not signing up for the draft. Alright, so let's say you're not a US citizen. If you are a legal immigrant to this country, you still have to sign up for the draft. You cannot become a United States citizen if you are a legal immigrant. It is literally against the law for an American man to not sign up for the selective service. Period. Even if you don't want to vote. If you don't want to vote, you still have to sign up for the selective service. But as soon as a woman turns 18, she is allowed to vote. Hey, look, I'm a woman. I'm 18. I'm eligible to vote. I don't have to do anything to earn that privilege. There are no prerequisites needed for a woman to vote. She has the unearned privilege of voting. And to me, that doesn't sound very equal, to men at least. Why do they get to vote by merely existing, but men have to register for the draft? If we have a war and we have a draft enforced, some of those men that can vote, they're gonna die. Why isn't that the same for women, huh? It's not equal. Women demand equality, but only when it favors them. If people wanted to make men and women equal, they would argue to force women to join the draft. If people wanted to make men and women equal, they would argue for 1. To force women to register for the draft like men, or 2. Get rid of the draft altogether. Now, here's why both of those alternatives are completely idiotic and wrong. If women register for the draft and they are selected to serve in combat roles, they would greatly reduce the combat effectiveness of the military. Don't believe me? Well, according to an article in the Washington Post, I think from 2015 or so, the Marine Corps tested 2 groups of Marines to evaluate their overall effectiveness. The first group was an all-male unit. The second group was a mixture of both men and women. The all-male unit performed 69% better than the group that had men and women in it. When they measured the strength of men and women, the top 25% of women had the same strength as the bottom 25% of men. That's the bottom. The men that you don't want leading the charge, those weaker men, have the same strength as the strongest women. I don't want a weak military. So basically, in terms of fighting and strength, women are just weaker and worse versions of men. Do you really want, of all things, our military to be weaker with women in it? I mean, that makes no sense. I want our military, the United States military, to be the strongest, most combat effective force in the frickin' world. And people who allow women in the military are like, who cares? Military doesn't matter. That's just absolutely nuts. But like I said earlier, the other option is getting rid of the selective service. Doing away with the selective service is basically saying, hey, I'm going to suicide this country. A country that openly promotes that it refuses to draft its men in wartime will get overran in a conflict. There are only so many men that will volunteer in a given year, and once they all are enlisted, you effectively will run out of men and will eventually lose any and every conflict. That's a recipe for disaster. The selective service is a mandatory insurance policy for our country. It is non-negotiable. We must have it. Someone, though, would argue that women in the military should be able to vote just like men. But I've already proven that women are just worse soldiers, and thusly should not be in the military at all. No women should serve in frontline combat roles. They shouldn't be in at all. I mean, that makes no sense. Women obviously can't fight as well as men. Maybe they could be nurses, and then that's totally fine. They could be nurses. Maybe they could drive trucks as civilians. I might be okay with that. But others would also argue that some men, they are unfit to serve in the military and shouldn't be able to vote. Now, that's another issue for another day, for another video that I'll get to later. But this video is specifically talking about why women shouldn't vote. Restricting women from voting is the only solution that will lead to a smaller government. If you have another solution, please let me know in the comments below, because I can't find any time or any era or any information about women wanting a smaller government. For women, it would be against their own self-interest to vote for a smaller welfare state. They are the biggest recipients, so naturally they're just going to vote for more and more. Women, of course, always need someone to support them, and they're going to get support either from a man, through a relationship, through marriage, through father to daughter, brother to sister, something like that, or the government will just step in and help them out. Women and some men want money. Don't get me wrong, some men want money that they do not have to earn. That'd be nice. Hey, government, give me some money. Oh, thanks. Now I don't have to do anything for the rest of the day. However, those men, they don't understand the relationship between money, people, and the government. Most men understand, though, that they will have to use that W word to get money. And that W word is work to make money. A smaller government will lead to more freedom for individuals, as well as making the country stronger and wealthier. Did you know that the most economically free countries does not include the United States? No. Some of the most economically free countries, or cities, are in Asia, called Hong Kong and Singapore. Go figure. And they don't have a huge welfare state. Some would say, well, you know, women can vote, and that's totally okay. No problems there. If you say that, then you are putting women on a pedestal that they do not deserve. No women should be on a pedestal. And that stance is anti-egalitarian. Women and men are equal? Are they not equal? If you make two groups have the same outcomes, but one has to perform, that's not equal. You are promoting women over men if you allow them to vote. But if you believe in a small government with a tiny to non-existent welfare state, you need to remove women as a voting bloc. Oh my God, though! That's discriminatory! Oh no! Well, hey, guess what? You discriminate on items all day, every single day. Discrimination, to a degree, can be the best thing out of any solution. You have to discriminate sometimes. Women are a net drain and do not deserve to vote, period. Of course, there will be exceptions to the rule. There might be some extremely buff women that can beat up most of the men, not all the men, but most of the men. But they don't prove the rule wrong. The rule exists for a reason. Until women are not allowed to vote, you'll never be able to reform the government. Prove me wrong, and we will continue on our journey down the spiraling death of Western civilization. Now, like I said earlier, I would like to hear any alternatives you may have in the comments below, as well as other solutions to shrink the size of the government at all. I mean, I've not found any information on how to shrink the size of government without taking away women's voting rights. Either way, thank you very much for watching. I'm Brazen Eagle, and I hope, like I said earlier, you have a great day.